What if the key to building a responsible future for artificial intelligence wasn't hidden in some super complex algorithm, but in the wisdom of ancient civilizations? Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to look at a new blueprint for ethical AI that's actually taking its cues from thousands of years of human history. Our story kicks off right here, in Rome, inside the historic halls of the Italian Parliament. Now, this is the setting for the Human Economic Forum, a gathering that's all about reconnecting our economy with our humanity. And it's here that a pretty amazing idea is taking shape, using ancient principles to guide our most advanced technology. So, the core idea is rooted in ancient Egypt, in a concept called Ma'at. You can think of it as cosmic order, truth, balance, and justice, all rolled into one. For the pharaohs, their entire job was to uphold Ma'at, to be the guardians of this universal harmony. So, you're probably wondering, what in the world does a 4,000-year-old concept have to do with AI? Well, it helps us answer this one huge question. In this incredible race to innovate, are we creating tools that actually make our lives better, or are we slowly becoming servants to the very systems we built? This is pretty much the central dilemma we're all facing with AI today. All right, so let's really dig into this modern dilemma. How do we build AI that reflects our best values and not, our worst biases? A huge part of the problem comes down to something called ROI myopia. It's this kind of tunnel vision on immediate financial returns. And when the only thing that matters is short-term profit, all the crucial stuff like ethics, fairness, and long-term societal trust, it just gets pushed to the side. And that creates some massive blind spots. And then you've got the black box problem, which just makes everything trickier. Many of these advanced AIs make decisions in ways that are totally opaque, even to the people who made them. I mean, think about it. If we can't understand how an AI got to its conclusion, how can we ever hold it accountable? Without that transparency, building the trust we need is, well, it's pretty much impossible. So where do we even start to fix this? Well, the idea is that it begins with rehumanizing our economy. And that's exactly the focus of groups like the Human Economic Forum, which are dedicated to putting people, not profit, back at the center of our systems. The forum's mission here is crystal clear. Progress shouldn't be measured just by money, but by human well-being. Technology has to serve the common good. The individual person needs to be at the heart of it all. You can see why this is the perfect incubator, the perfect place for a totally new approach to AI. And this is where we get to the actual solution, a concrete blueprint for ethical AI, one that's designed to bake our values directly into the development process from day one. It's called PALO, which stands for Principled AI Lifecycle Orchestration. I know, it's a bit of a mouthful, but the name really tells you everything. It's a framework for weaving ethical principles into every single stage of an AI's life, from that first spark of an idea all the way to when it's eventually retired. Now, what's really interesting about this, and you gotta get this, is that PALO is not just another boring checklist. It's aiming for a total paradigm shift. The goal is to stop treating ethics like a last-minute patch, and instead to integrate integrity right into the code and make transparency a non-negotiable part of the design. So that sounds great in theory, but how does PALO actually work in practice? Let's take a look at the life cycle it lays out. So PALO breaks the whole process down into 5 clear phases. And what's key here is that it starts with ideation and ethical screening before a single line of code is ever written. Then it moves into deep assessment, responsible development, and, this is so important, proactive monitoring after it's been deployed. It even plans for how to responsibly shut a system down. See? Ethics aren't just one step, they're woven through the entire journey. And these are the principles that guide every single one of those phases. It forces developers to ask those really tough questions right from the start. Under principled fairness, they have to ask, hey, are our datasets biased? Is this thing going to screw over a certain group of people? With principled transparency, can we actually explain to someone why they got denied a loan? For principled accountability, we figure out who's on the hook when things go wrong. And maybe most importantly, with principled human oversight, we make sure a human can always step in and hit the brakes. Okay, now this next part is, I think, maybe the most game-changing piece of PALO. It's all about making these big, fuzzy concepts like fairness and accountability something you can actually measure. So check this out. Instead of only measuring technical stuff like system uptime, PALO introduces ethical KPIs. For instance, the human oversight intervention rate. That tells you how often a person has to jump in and fix the AI's mistake. If that number is high, you know you've got a big problem. Or making sure the rate of harmful outputs is just as important as fending off a cyber attack. And this same shift applies to the business side of things too. Of course, ROI, return on investment, that's always going to be there. But PALO says let's also measure something like the demographic parity difference to see if we're being fair, or an explainability score to see how transparent we're being. It just totally broadens the definition of what value even means. And you should know, this isn't just some academic idea floating around in a vacuum. PALO is built from the ground up to align with all the big global standards and regulations, like the ISO standards for AI and the landmark EU AI Act. This gives it real credibility and real teeth. So let's pull all these threads together. What does this all mean for our shared future? A future where, hopefully, our AI can truly reflect our humanity. And just like that, we're back where we started. From the ancient pharaohs trying to maintain this cosmic harmony, this ma'at, to a software engineer today using a framework like PALO, the fundamental challenge is exactly the same. How do we embed our deepest values into the powerful tools we create? And this really gets to the heart of what's at stake. We always think the next big leap is going to be technological. But maybe the real revolution isn't about the tech at all. Maybe it's about us. A revolution of human values and principles guiding that tech. Which leaves all of us with one final and I think really crucial question. You see, AI isn't just something that's happening to us. It's a mirror. It's reflecting the choices we are making right now. So as it continues to shape every single part of our lives, the most important decision we have to make is what values we will choose to deliberately write into its code.